And hello there, it is noon, and that means it is time for our Friday Lunch and Learn. Now, if you have not been living under a rock, you're going to know that Deer Park, which is just south of here, had a massive tank fire, and benzene is all in the air. So I want to talk to you today about benzene, what it is, how can you avoid it, what to do if you've been out in it, what to do if you live close. And I want to give you a little bit of perspective on that, okay? So welcome to Friday's Lunch and Learn. I am your host, Dr. Heil-Mealey with Abundant Health and Wellness, and we are located in downtown Humble at Main Street and Avenue C. So if you're not in the greater Houston area, this is probably not at the top of your list, but this is something that you need. Everybody needs to know this information. It's more pertinent to us because we're here in Houston, but we're going to just start. We're going to start with a couple of things. I'm going to read a article or a letter by the Air Alliance Houston people, and it's going to tell you some things, and then I'm going to talk about this book or the author. Now, this book says The Cure for HIV and AIDS, right? It is written by Dr. Hulda Clark, and she is a government scientist in Canada, okay? She has a master's degree in, physiology, cell physiology, and biophysics. Okay, she left the Canadian government in 1979, and she's been in private practice ever since. She's very, very sound. This is not Dr. Google, but she has a lot to say about benzene. So we're going to talk about benzene. So first, let me just give you the official, what it says from the Air Alliance Houston. And it says, this morning, and this was a tweet, there's no date on it, but it says, this morning we woke to learn that the entire city of Deer Park had been issued a shelter in place due to the hazardous levels of benzene. Schools were closed, highways have been shut down. There is a shelter in place. This is not normal. So these are the chemicals that were released in the air during that tank farm fire. And don't hate me because I can't pronounce these things. Naphtha, xylene, toluene, and benzene. Now, all of these are solvents, with benzene being the worst, okay? So the xylene and the toluene, they are in common everyday paper products. If you are a woman and you use menstrual pads or you use tampons, it's in there. If you have your babies in diapers, it's in there. Those are in there. And so these are all petrochemical components. They are toxic, but the thing with the xylene, okay, the xylene is volatile, which means it evaporates very, very readily, okay? Xylene is relatively low toxicity to humans when compared to solvents like benzene. It is metabolized and eliminated reasonably quickly, meaning that your body breaks it down into other substances and then eliminates it in your urine. It tends to linger longer in fatty tissue, although it is eventually cleared from there as well. Now, this brings me to some information that people are always wanting to know how they can lose weight and why they have trouble losing weight. Well, so if you are heavy, then your fat cells are going to trap these chemicals in there. And so a lot of times we're not fat, we just have a overabundance of chemical toxic load that's living in the fat cells, which keeps us from being able to shift that weight. So we don't want to do that, okay? So the chemicals that we have from this tank fire are naphtha, xylene, toluene, I think is how you say it, and then your benzene. So this is what you need to know. Benzene, now this is March the 20th. March the 20th, there was 84.8 parts per billion at the Lynchburg Ferry. In Deer Park, it was 66 parts per billion. And then on the 19th, it was 132 parts per billion in channel view. So if you're in those areas, you have been exposed. Now, in California, the legal amount of benzene that can be in the atmosphere is 8 parts per billion. So 8 parts per billion is quite a bit less than 132 or even 84. So we've had a lot of parts per billion in our atmosphere. So you might be concerned about this, and I want you to be concerned about this, but you have benzene in other products. Benzene is a detergent. Okay, it's made out of petroleum products, and it helps other things break down, and that's why we use it. But Dr. Clark, I'm gonna get her book out. I've got tons of things to show you here. Let's see. Okay, so this is where you get your benzene. You get it in your flavored foods. So yogurt, Jell-O, candy, throat lozenges, okay? Store-bought cookies and cakes, all of that has benzene in it. Hand cream, skin cream, moisturizers, all right? Toothpaste, even including your healthy brands, have benzene in it. Tea tree oil products, particularly your Metallica brand, has benzene in it. Beverages, including bottled water, store-bought juices, all have benzene in it. Vaseline products, so your Noxzema, your Vicks, your lip therapy, your chapstick, and your hand cleaners, they all have benzene in it. Cold cereal has benzene. Cooking oil and shortenings have benzene. Ice cream and frozen yogurt. Chewing gum, who knew, right? Personal lubricants. Let's see, even marijuana has benzene in it. Flavored pet food, both cats and dogs. Bird food that's made into cakes, and then cattle and poultry feeds, except for the single grain varieties. All of those have benzene in it. And so you're getting benzene in the environment, so you need to kind of have some perspective here, okay? This is why we're really, really careful not to do soda and that kind of thing, because soda has a lot of benzene in it. But it's in everything. It's in your cigarette smoke, okay? So this is because of the benzene. Cigarette smoking is associated with an increased risk of leukemia. Benzene is an established leukomogen and is present in cigarette smoke. By combining epidemiological data, right, we assess the portion of smoking-induced total leukemia and acute myeloid leukemia. It's all attributable to benzene in the cigarette smoke, okay? So we need to just keep perspective here. Now, all of us saw that black plume of smoke. The authorities were telling us, oh, it's okay, there's no big deal. And we all are smarter than that. We know that when there's black stuff in the air, it's not good. When it falls out of the air in ash and that kind of thing, it's not good. Benzene does not break down in water. Just gonna give you some facts about benzene. Benzene is a chemical that is colorless or a light yellow liquid at room temperature. It has a sweet odor and it is highly flammable. Now, maybe because it's highly flammable is why the firefighters couldn't put the fire out and why the fire reignited. Just keep that in mind. It evaporates into the air very quickly. The vapor is heavier than air and may sink into low-lying areas. Now remember, they said that because the plume was way up in the air, we didn't have anything to worry about. Well, this is from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. This is from their website. Benzene dissolves only slightly in water, and it will float on the top of water. So what does that mean? That means if you're in an area where that plume came over, you want to make sure that any standing water is disposed of. You don't want your animals drinking it. You don't want, you just don't want it around. You don't want it breeding mosquitoes and that kind of thing, because then you're going to have mutants, and we don't want that. So you want to make sure that any standing water that you have, you want to make sure that it is disposed of properly. So what does that mean for our lakes and our rivers? It's really, really a significant thing. We live on Lake Houston. We've got the San Jacinto River, all in that area. And so it does not dissolve in the water. It will float on top of the water, okay? It is formed in both natural processes and human activities. Natural sources of benzene include volcanoes and forest fires. So it is something, you know, what happens in nature, if a volcano erupts, the benzene is going to be different than the benzene that is synthesized through the processing of your petrochemical processes. I'm just going to tell you that. It may be the same molecular construction, but it's going to act differently because one is totally organic and one is made up of inorganic processes, okay? Benzene is also a natural part of crude oil, gasoline, and cigarette smoke, all right? It is used, okay, to make plastics, resins, nylon, and synthetic fibers. Also, it's used to make lubricants, rubbers, dyes, detergents, drugs, and pesticides. So when you're looking in your house, you've got all these things. Now, does that mean it's not a big deal that we have it in the air? Well, I think it makes it more significant that we have it in the air since we're being attacked with our personal care, our household care, our cigarettes if we smoke, or our drugs if we take drugs. I don't do any of that, so I'm just saying. Indoor air generally contains level of benzene higher than outdoor air. The benzene on the indoor air comes from products that contain benzene such as glues, paints, furniture wax, and detergents. Just gonna throw that out there, okay? People working in industry that make and use benzene are higher. They have higher levels of exposure, and I think we all knew that. And we know that benzene works by causing your cells to not work correctly. For example, it can cause bone marrow not to produce enough red blood cells, which can lead to anemia. Also, it can damage the immune system by changing the blood levels of antibodies and causing the loss of white blood cells. So there's a lot of reason to be concerned about benzene in our environment, but I want to go back to some things about the air quality, okay? So if you have been affected by the benzene, this is what you're going to be looking for. Drowsiness, dizziness, irregular or rapid heartbeat, headache, tremor, confusion, unconsciousness, and death. But the benzene has to be at very, very high levels. I see people are coming on and waving, Diane and Cindy and Gwen, so thank you very much. I know we've got more people because I can see the number, but I'm not seeing the scroll. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you're going to find this interesting here. So if you actually ingest benzene, there could be vomiting, stomach irritation, dizziness, sleepiness, convulsions, okay, and death at very, very high levels. Well, we don't want to do very, very high levels. So if you're in that area, hopefully this week you did follow the shelter in place. And even when they told you that everything was okay, hopefully you're smarter than that and you stayed indoors or you had a mask. Okay, now the Talks doc, I don't know exactly who she is, but she was on, I think it was Channel 11 News this week. And she was saying that, of course, everything that's burning is very, very toxic, but she said the masks are not going to give you a lot of protection, that you need to have like a respirator in order to be really protected. Now, I saw a lot of you on your Facebook, you were having your little mask and all that kind of thing. Talk says it wasn't that effective, but it is a barrier of sorts, so I think you would have gotten at least some minimal protection. But hopefully you were smarter than that and you stayed indoors, okay? Hopefully you did. Now, here is a letter from the Environmental Working Group. Now, hopefully you guys know about the Environmental Working Group. The Environmental Working Group is a nonprofit organization that talks to us about the chemicals that we have in our environment. The webpage is the EWG, Environmental Working Group.org, okay, EWG.org. And so this is a letter. Now, this was in 2007, and it was from the Environmental Working Group to the FDA regarding benzene. It says, we recently became aware of the fact that in 1990, the Food and Drug Administration learned that popular soft drinks contain two types of ingredients, ascorbic acid, which is vitamin C, and benzoate preservatives, either sodium benzoate or potassium benzoate. Just want to give you a little segue here. Ascorbic acid, vitamin C, made here in the United States is always, hear me, always genetically modified according to my sources. So you're getting GMOs, and that translates to glyphosate when you have this in there, okay? Plus your benzoate preservatives, which can combine to form the carcinogen benzene, and that some soft drinks contain benzene levels higher than safe limits set for drinking water. In spite of this knowledge, and in the clear health threat presented by benzene in popular beverages, the agency did not inform the public of its finding. Instead, the agency, the FDA, suppressed the information. No, really, for real? Okay, and asked the soft drink manufacturers to voluntarily solve this problem. Okay, so 2 American news outlets worked on that, and that was 2 in Washington, D.C., right? They have reported recently that the FDA is now testing soft drinks, and to date has found approximately 20 different products containing benzene, some with 4 times the amount of benzene that the federal government considers safe for tap water, okay? So you can look at this whole big report on the Environmental Working Group. It says in the past 15 years, there has been an enormous surge in soda and juice consumption and a corresponding decline in the consumption of water. Children drink significantly more of these products, potentially contaminated with benzene, than they did 15 years ago. If the drinking water is found to contain 5 parts per billion, 5, okay, of benzene, authorities are required to notify the public and fix the problem. In stark contrast, the FDA has apparently found benzene at 20 parts per billion to be okay in soft drinks. So you just need to understand this. Now I'm going to go back to Hulda Clark and why benzene is the most important thing. I'm thinking that the air quality could have had some upset, some stomach upset, some headaches, some respiratory issues. I think it could do that. But what we're finding in our detergents and our cleaning products and our lotions and that kind of thing, we're having benzene come into the body and what benzene actually does in the body, because it is a health risk, okay? She says, if you eat the tiniest bit of benzene, it goes directly to your thymus. Now, your thymus is part of your immune system. If you rub the tiniest bit of benzene into your skin, it is found in the thymus half a minute later. It says, of course, your white blood cells immediately begin to eat it up and get it out of the thymus, but the damage has already been done. So what is the damage? Well, the damage has to do with the pesticides, okay? So we all have, parasites. We all have parasites. Benzene, xylene, toluene, all of those are in pesticides, okay? When we get that into our body, we spray Roundup. I used to spray Roundup in my garden all the time. I didn't take a whole lot of precaution. I mean, I was smart. I didn't spray it on my skin. I tried to spray it on a low windy day, but still, I probably got some on me and I didn't really think all that much about it. But these chemicals, they are detergents and they break down coatings. They break down casings. You have a detergent because you want to get that oil, whatever that oil is, you want to get that removed. Now, our bodies are made up of fatty tissue. And so when you ingest the benzene, you put the benzene on your skin, and you can have some real problems with that. Okay? So the main problem I want to talk about is with the parasites. Now, when we eat salad, I don't know if you've looked at your salad, but sometimes on the back of the salad leaves, you can have a little bitty, like, dark spot. You can have, I've even seen little creepy crawlers, like little worms in the salad. Okay, I've seen that as well. But you want to wash your salad. But even then, you can still get part of this parasite, and especially in the spore form or the egg form, you can get it. Now, what is supposed to happen is that you get this accidentally in your body, and it just passes on through the system and out in the potty, and it doesn't give you any problems. The problems come that we are chronically constipated. We're not moving our bowels 2 to 3 times a day, every day, okay? And there's a whole lot of stuff on my website about that. You can call the office if you need to have more help with that. But if we're not moving the bowels and we're not getting things moved through the system like they're supposed to, the detergent in the benzene, the xylene, all those other things that we talked about, that actually goes into the system, and it breaks down the eggs that contain the parasites. So the parasites are released into the tissues, into the bloodstream, and they actually go to the thymus, to the thyroid. Really, they're in the bloodstream. They can go anywhere, and it produces real live adult bugs, flukes, that kind of thing, that actually reproduce in your body, and it causes your body to have a lot of problems, okay? So instead of the parasite just running out of the body, you know, as we have normal, good practices, it stays in the body, and it produces some problems. So I just want to read what she says. She says, throw out products that contain benzene. Don't use them up. Don't even think about it. Just throw them away. Okay? Anything that has flavor added probably has benzene in it. Let's see. In review, just let me give you this in review here. The intestinal fluke can reproduce itself from beginning to end inside your body if you have solvents in your body. And there are many solvents around us. If the solvent is benzene, which accumulates in the thymus, the human intestinal flukes colonize and bring you sickness and disease. The damage to your thymus reduces your immunity, allowing other parasites and pathogens to multiply, okay? Because benzene is a solvent, I think it dissolves the shell of the eggs and let them all hatch right inside you. The tiny baby stage then gets in your blood, travels everywhere in your body. They land and turn into other forms and then finally into adults. Adult, if it's in your liver, okay, it will cause cancer. If it's in your thymus, it can cause viral diseases. If it's in your brain, you're going to have Alzheimer's. If it's in your kidneys, you're going to have Hodgkin's disease. If it's in the uterus, you can have endometriosis. So this kind of gives some causes of what's going on. If it's in the prostate, you'll have chronic prostatitis. Okay, and if it's on your skin, you can have Kaposi's syndrome. So we want to make sure that we don't go outside when there's this big black plume of smoke. That is dangerous. But also dangerous, and keep in perspective that that cloud of smoke is going to dissipate. Now, do we need to be careful? Yes, we need to be careful. We need to be careful not to go out and breathe it. We need to be careful not to let our pets get into any standing water. We need, if we're gardening and we're emptying out those flower pots, we don't want to put that on our organic vegetables, because what is it going to do? It's going to go in. We want to be particularly cognizant of that. But also, we want to make sure with our hand lotions, our toothpaste, if we smoke, hopefully we don't, but if we smoke, you're getting benzene. Even your healthy toothpaste. Look at your at your products and see what it says. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of perspective on that. I want to segue over. We're talking about skin and different things. We have a new product here in the clinic, and it is human growth hormone. Okay, we make a lot of it when we're young, but when we're older, we don't make so much. And this is what it does for us. It helps us with mood support, healthier hair, skin, and nails. It will actually regrow your hair. It will increase your joint mobility, enhanced libido, enhanced fat loss, especially around the midsection, greater muscle tone, increase in strength, improved memory, and improved bone density. So if you're looking for a nice human growth hormone product, this is FDA approved, and it is available without a prescription, and it is at the homeopathic level. So what's not to love, right? So if you are interested in any of that, you can call the office and we can get you that product. Somebody's asking a question. Judy says, my husband works at the plant. The only time he was outside is when he arrived to work and left. He was there Monday through Wednesday praying all will be okay. Yes, Judy, I pray all that will be okay too. If he has any kind of problems, he does need to go to the doctor. That plant has opened a claims hotline. They know there's going to be respiratory issues. So if your husband has any of that, then you want to be able to go to that website and open up a claim, so they will definitely pay out on that. Now, I heard an attorney this week, it wasn't yesterday because I don't think I turned on the TV when the news was on, but I think it was Wednesday, the attorney said be very, very careful before accepting a cash settlement, because if it proves that you have problems later on, if you accept a cash settlement, they won't be responsible for things that can go bad. And remember, benzene is a carcinogenic product, okay? So I don't think we need to get all up in arms about it, but I do think we need to be smart. If we are respiratory challenged, we've got some great things that will detoxify the lungs, and it will help get the benzene out. We can actually cancel the benzene vibration. So if you've been exposed to that and you want to come into the office, we do that on a case-by-case basis because it is absolutely unique to your DNA. So we've got a lot of things that we can offer here. Keep everything in perspective, right? When things are going outside and you smell or you see the black and you smell it, you can taste it. I had people in Kingwood said that they went out for their morning walk and they could actually taste the chemicals in the air. And so you want to be cognizant and trust yourself. If you can smell it, you can taste it, you can ingest it, and it is a carcinogen. So don't get all wigged out about it and get like paranoid. If you are compromised, if your immune system is compromised, then you need to have more attention to that. If you are basically healthy, like I'm basically healthy, I don't live in the area, I've not been in the area, I'm not going to do anything proactively, okay? We're in the downtown Humble area. If you are in the Channelview area, if you are in the Deer Park area, if you're in any of that area that's close to that, Baytown, whatever, you might need to have a little bit more intense therapy just because it's in the air that you breathe. So that's my final thought on the benzene issue. Hopefully I've clarified it and demystified it. I don't believe they're telling you the truth when they say there's nothing to worry about, but I also think that if you practice good common sense, for the most part, you're gonna be okay, okay? I fear for the first responders that had to be there and they were exposed to it, so they may need a little bit more care and some more therapeutic help with that. So it is Friday. That means we've got a weekend in front of us. So love you guys. Hope you have a great weekend. Get some rest. Stay out of the toxic areas of the smoke. Be aware of where the cloud is and stay inside if it's in your area. Be blessed. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.